Anyone remember Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? I'm just joking. Of course you do. It was the best game ever. 300 player 24-hour peak. And now this best game ever is getting a season 1 soon.
Well, everyone, it is that time once again for us to check back in on a game which many of us found underwhelming, and that is, of course, the one and only Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
How dare you? I found this game extremely hilarious.
Now, I've done a bunch of coverage of this game. I've done a review. I played the whole thing on stream. I'm sure you've seen that content. So we're not going to rehash all of that nitty-gritty here today. Rather, I want to check out the update that they dropped a handful of days ago that allegedly fixes a lot of the networking issues, a lot of the matchmaking issues and stuff that made the game unplayable for many players for months. And further,
essentially, the problem here, if you do not know, is the fact that you could unironically try and play this game, but chances are that you encountered some bug that either rolled the loot that you got, so if you got something cool, congratulations, it's gone. Or if when you did missions that, you start the mission, you finish the mission, everything is fine, but your progress is not saved. And you get nothing for it, and you need to replay it. So congratulations there. And there were multiple problems like that for this game, which just made it hilarious. There's already only roughly 300 people who are dumb enough to play this garbage dumpster fire, and even if they want to play, chances are their progress is in some way not getting saved, deleted, or devalued by the bugs. And the developers clearly had no intention to fix them at all.
Furthermore, there are leaks suggesting there are entirely new game modes coming to the game, even though they haven't been announced yet at this point in the game's life cycle, which is kind of shocking. And of course, the elephant in the room, which is the big Season 1 update introducing a new playable character in the form of the Joker, baby.
Oh, the Joker, baby.
And this Season 1 update is actually scheduled and slated for release tomorrow morning. So I'm going to be playing it over on stream. Come by to Luke Stevens Live. Links
below if you
want to check that out and see me try the new playable character. Because there's some interesting stuff with it that could potentially make this game more interesting. But also it seems that they've actually walked back on one of their initial guarantees.
I mean, the reality is there is no addition, no Joker, even a good Joker. This Joker looks like a, a skinny joke. It looks like that, the last Joker that we got that looked like, a failed version of a fuckboy. Yeah, that Joker. Even a good version of the Joker would not save this game, because the reality of Suicide Squad is very simple. You don't even need to play it. You just need to watch 5 seconds of gameplay and you're already understanding, wow, this is horrible. The guns feel bad, the shooting feels bad, the traversal feels bad, the everything feels bad. The execution animations are cool, true, but obviously there's a but, they take 20 years to finish, okay? I got married, had children, got a divorce, became gay, and remarried again with the woman of my true love, who turns out was my cousin. In the time that one fatality animation in this stupid game finished. Okay, it's that bad. It's that long. It's that sad. And this is like a beginner mistake. Okay. Long animations have no places in video games. Just saying. Find an animation and make it fast. Not make it long. It doesn't matter how cool it is. It's always going to feel bad at the end. And the other things are obviously, the guns just don't feel impactful at all. Everything feels like a pea shooter. Especially the Shark Gatling gun, which is hilarious because why would King Shark use a gun? He's a shark. King Shark is a shark. I don't know. In any case, other things. Captain Boomerang. The same way that King Shark is a shark, Captain Boomerang is a boomerang, and yet he never uses his boomerangs. And the loot that you get is stupid and shit. For example, Bane's gun. You know, because Bane uses a lot of guns. I'm surprised there's no Batman sniper rifle or some shit like that. Because, you know, that's what we're missing at this point. It's just, everything about it is just dumb. And the gameplay will never be salvaged.
Which was that you weren't going to be able to pay for these playable characters at all. They were going to be completely free and available to everyone at the same time. They've actually walked that back, and you are, as it turns out, able to pay for the Joker to get access to him before everybody else does.
Makes
and
sense.
Just skip the story content that introduces him, which is a little weird.
Oh, nothing weird about that. The story content is the weakest part of this game by far, obviously. Amanda Waller actually seems stupid and weak. Dude, Amanda Waller, okay? Amanda Waller is a fat black woman. And she's actually one of the best characters that DC has. And they ruined it. They made her a skinny, black, unlikable woman. Wow. I mean, damn.
But again, we'll talk about all of that in just a second. And of course, thank you to the sponsor of this video, Factor 75. Factor 75 is the meal delivery.
Factor 75, as all other meal prep services, are shit because they're blatant scams that cost more than your typical gas station food. Which some Americans have told me, well, you can't actually buy good stuff in the gas station. Well, that's your fault for being a third world shithole, idiot. Don't complain about your shitty country to me. Go complain to someone and then get stabbed by an immigrant or whatever. Not my problem, dude. Hey, you dug your grave.
Matchmaking is working. I am just as baffled as you are. In case you didn't know, matchmaking for most players was just sort of broken, especially after you completed the main story. It just would glitch out and not work properly. And it was super annoying because in later, like...
Is this still intended? Like, what the hell is happening here?
Higher tier missions and higher level missions, especially in the end game, you really need to have high level teammates to play with. Otherwise, things just don't work properly. It's super, super annoying. But...
By the way, also, just the aesthetic of this. Again, the city is not made by an architect. It's made by a delusional 5-year-old who has autism. The whole map, the whole place where you do everything was made by that autistic child. It is what it is. And you know what I hate? The cheap LSD trippy looking stuff that you implement because it's future tech. It can look like, you know, it's a bug in the universe. So now that's just weak and dumb.
Now it actually is working. That isn't working, but this is.
Hey, you see this? See this? Yeah, I mean, it's future-y. You just don't get it. It's future-y. This makes sense in the future. I hate this.
Actually working, which is awesome to see, and it does feel and play much better. I've actually done a few rounds with this squad because I may or may not have forgotten to hit the record.
Ah, yes, this is the proud, independent black hacker woman. She's amazing and strong and independent.
Swapped over to the Xbox. I'm a professional, don't worry about it. And again, I'll give them credit. It does actually play much better when it's working the way it's supposed to, when you're actually able to matchmake and play with others.
None of this looks good or fun, does it?
It's great. It's almost like this is how it was supposed to be from the beginning. Isn't that weird? And smash! Love it. Okay, so I'm happy to report when the game's actually working the way it's supposed to, it's a good time, and it's significantly better than I feel the base game is playing solo. And it's just...
Then he does no damage because there's a shield, then he does 300k damage. What the fuck?
Just unfortunate that it's taken 2 months to get to the point where people...
Also, the gear for this game, it's like a looter shooter, but the gear is the most boring, generic stuff ever. All the gear's upgrades are literally Diablo tier, but kind of more verse and simple. Well, they're gonna be equally bad and simple to Diablo 4 when Season 4 finally hits. But, you know, until... for Suicide Squad, the gear is like this. 5 more credits! Whoa, that's some gear mod. I hope it's really good. It's a rare mod. I hope you enjoy it. And then there's like 5% more aerial damage generation or something like that. Wow. What, tell me more, bruv.
People can actually play the game in the way it was supposed to be day one, which is, you know, due to a myriad of factors. It's not just because players didn't give it a chance. It's like, no, it literally didn't work. So even if you wanted to play it with friends, you just couldn't, which is no one's fault but the developers, honestly. And now more guys warp in and we fight waves and waves. Now some interesting things are being added to the game, allegedly.
You know what's my favorite part about the city? That all buildings have rooftops. That there's not a single building that's roof is like this, which is, you know, 10 out of 10. And the fact that not a single building has any railings or whatever. It's nice.
According to some data miners, which for one is that they are allegedly working on a PvPvE mode, which is effectively just a version of the game where you're going to be able to also fight Elseworld variants of Task Force X, which is interesting. And I mean, if that ends up actually being true, you know,
I mean, considering how poorly all the boss battles have been in this game, good luck. Yeah, that sounds amazing.
you know, data miners are saying that they have good reason to believe it's true. But if that is actually true, that could fix one of the biggest problems with this game, which is enemy variety. You basically fight waves and waves of purple zitted enemies over and over and over again. It's basically all you do.
What do you mean that's all you do? That's all you need in the game, baby.
And if they were able to swap it out so you then can start fighting Elseworld versions of Harley or of Captain Boomerang or something, that could be really, really interesting and make the game feel much bigger than it currently is. However, of course, right now it's all up in the air. We don't know for a fact if that is in fact going to happen. It's been data mined. People are pretty confident about it that have dug into the game's files. So it might be the case, it might not. It's just a matter of time. Here are some more rewards. You can see they've also changed out the drop rates of certain like legendary items and high tier items because they want players to feel that little drip of dopamine.
Look at that. Oh my lord, this is amazing. Look at all these stats. Damage to grunt enemies with this firearm. Why does it have this firearm? I don't know. I don't even know. Why does it even add that this part of the text? Why isn't it just 11% damage to grunts? Why does it have grunt enemies with this firearm? Well, or, you know, you could keep the enemies maybe, but with this fire, what do you mean? And why is this like 11% assault rifle damage? Why isn't it 11% with this assault rifle damage? Why? It just doesn't make any sense. Nothing makes sense here.
Every time that they get some new shiny gun, which is great because it's a looter shooter, you kind of have to have that stuff, otherwise the game just doesn't work in concept. So I can appreciate that, and they really have cranked up the drop rates. I mean, even when you're just exploring the city, you're going to be finding all sorts of new stuff as you run around, which helps. It certainly helps. And I mean, again, I can see why they wanted to push.
What is there to found in this retarded looking clown fiesta though? I don't know.
Cosmetics so much, cosmetics, emotes, and stuff like that. There's some weird sliding going on.
That's
but
fine.
The game is certainly more fun with human beings as opposed to just a bunch of like bots and AI controlled groups, which is great. I mean, with all this, you still have to ask, like, does this save the game? Is this enough to now have it so you can play with your friends and that works? And then also add in some new Elseworld missions with the Season 1 update and Joker as a playable character. Like, is that enough to
Get Joker, boys!
My stance is that while this is better, I still don't think it's enough to make the game great or make the
Imagine this is unironically your gameplay.
Game worth $70 compared to other games you can get for $70. I do
that peak gameplay right there, boys.
think it could eventually get to the point where it's worth like 20 to 30 bucks. I don't think it's quite there right now, especially because there are still some pretty significant technical issues people are reporting, but
okay, round 2.
I do think it could eventually get to the point where it's worth, you know, a deep sale or perhaps like Game Pass.
Okay, that was a little bit better, I guess.
Or even a free-to-play model, of course, would make this more viable. Just because right now, for 10 hours of content, Season 1 might add a few more hours. I just don't think that...
This is infinity hours of replayable content. How dare you?
That's worth $70 for what we're getting and how repetitive it is. But in 6 months or a year, once they've added a bunch more stuff...
Dude, the fact that King Shark, who is a shark clearly, doesn't even have a cool Hulk-esque run animation on top of this building. Look.
$70.
Look at this.
What we're getting and
he doesn't even leave a trace in the wall. Oh my lord, this is bad.
How repetitive it is, but in 6 months or a year, once they've added a bunch more stuff, it could get to that point where it's worth the $30 or whatever else it might be on sale for around that time. But speaking of Season 1, you can see that there's been some reporting by the one and only Paul Tassi over at Forbes, where he looked at this sheet.
At Forbes, so you know he's not a failure.
That was the message of the day for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And the interesting thing about this is that they describe all of the perks of Season 1. And as you can see, it says right here, the Joker can be unlocked as part of the story for Season 1 by defeating Brainiac, or if you just...
Again.
can't wait, you can get instant access to him in the store. Now, this is weird because I was under the impression, and so was everybody else, that they were just making all of these characters available free to play. That's it. There's no like pay to play access where, oh, you were able to get this character because you had an extra $20 laying around. There's nothing like that. It's all free and available to people for free. And while that is technically still true, you can get the character for free if you play through the story content of Season 1. They are now also allowing you to buy him immediately, which...
I mean, I kind of understand why people... hey, if I was one of those 300 idiots that was still playing this game, you know what? I would look at this, and I would be saying, yeah, please let me buy this so I don't have to play the shitty story. Please allow me to buy this. I don't want to play this, please. I'll give you anything, just don't make me play the story with this freak of nature.
To buy him immediately.
So
which
bad.
I don't know if that means you can then play through his missions as him before the group has met him. I don't know if that is how that works. I don't know.
Too much effort, instantaneously, right off the bat, blatantly, visibly, that's too much effort.
If it's just how they get around, like allowing you to buy a skin for a character you don't have in your...
For the developers, I mean.
Squad yet or something. I don't really know what this is or why this is set up this way, but apparently you can just buy him ahead of completing the story, which is news to pretty much everybody. Now, just to play devil's advocate, I don't expect this to be that big.
I also don't actually care. Yeah, people who complain about shit like this, I mean, I kind of get where you're going, but this is not pay to win. You can still unlock him really easily, most likely. They're just giving the opportunity for people who have brains and don't want to play the story to buy him because that's smarter. It is what it is. It's like, dude, I'm not gonna complain about the games selling a lot of things in the shop if you can get them for free and it's not actually tedious. Finish the story sounds really, really simple to unlock something. So this is not what I'm gonna complain. There are things that I complain about even if you can buy them in the store but can farm them in the game. But, you know, this is not one of those situations.
Big of a deal because I've seen some data mined and leaked outlines for the Season 1 story, and it seems like you're going to get access to Joker in like Chapter 1 or Chapter 2 of the story. It seems like probably within half an hour to an hour of booting up.
So essentially just 2 escort missions or two missions of defend A, B, and C point because reasons.
Season 1, you're going to have access to him. So I don't expect it to make sense to buy it. You know, it's not like they're locking him behind 50 hours of grind or something. Maybe they do end up doing that. Maybe that is in fact what it is in these leaks of like a...
Honestly, I hope they do that because the people left playing this game should learn a lesson that they're trash and they are treated like trash and they should be treated like trash. You know, it's when you have a clearly pay-to-win game and the Veils start complaining that they're not getting enough shit and the developers literally just, spit on them from the top because, well, you already spent 10K on our shitty pay-to-win game. Do you think we value your opinion? If we make it worse for you, you're just gonna spend more money, you dumbass.
Shorter storyline are not to be believed, but that would be interesting. I mean, if they blowed out season 1 and then sell you the character ahead of time, that would suck, I think, but I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting like an hour of content and then you get access to him and it's not a big deal. But I guess we're gonna find out tomorrow. You better believe I'm gonna test it, I'm gonna play it, I'm gonna find out. So come over to Luke Stevens Live and you can see me playing it and slowly drifting into a deeper and deeper chasm of my own making. Furthermore, we've seen the outlines for season 1. There's a couple of extra episodes, new Riddler content. There's new like missions. There's probably a couple of new Elseworld missions, a few of them at least.
Wow.
And so that should help shake up Endgame content a little bit. There's the rumored added mode for a PvPvE mode. And then there's also boss fight variants, which are just Brainiac fights, but they're reskins of the
Wow, that's so cool.
Green Lantern fight or Superman fight that's going to come in like the second part of, or like second episode, I think is what they're calling it, of season 1. So it's just further reskins of the same fights. And listen, contrary to popular belief, I would love for this to be like the beginning of an amazing comeback. I don't like seeing Rocksteady put out a game that we're all frustrated by and find woefully underwhelming. And while they are taking steps to improve it, such as
Not my fault, boy.
making sure that matchmaking works and you can play with other people, that's great, but it should have been there day one. Like, it shouldn't be like, congratulations, 2 months after launch, it's working now the way it was supposed to on day one. It's just a little frustrating that, or no, it's a lot frustrating that after all this time, we're just now getting to the point where the game is functioning properly, and then they're bringing season 1. Like, why didn't you just delay it another 2 months and then get here, like launch in this state and then bring season 1? And furthermore, it's baffling because the core complaint for most people with Suicide Squad at launch was that there was just a lack of variety of content. There was a lack of content in general. The game was only about
the game was just bad. Like, relax, okay?
10 hours long, and that was made up of like 2.5 to 3 hours of actually like unique encounters and missions and boss fights and stuff. And so
yeah,
if that's the
not
biggest
buying it.
complaint, you would think that season 1 would be coming like a week after launch to add in a bunch of new stuff so that there's more content to sift through. But instead, they waited 2 months, and even then it seems like the amount of content that's going to be offered is going to be fairly minimal. So it just makes you wonder how any of this was greenlit, how anybody thought that this was going to be a
Well, no one really thought. They just got told this is gonna make money.
viable way of launching a live service game. And I think that's unfortunately going to be the legacy of this game, unless they can really turn stuff around with season 1 and season 2. And that's just...
Yeah, season 1 is already dead. Season 2, I mean... Did Joker... Yeah, no one's happy about that. I mean, some people probably are. And I question everything about those people, what makes them people in the first place, but that's fine. Anyway, I think we're done. That was our boy Luke Stevens. How does... There's such a difference. Like, is this even the same person, honestly? I always get confused about this. This is not the same dude that's here, you know? It's just not. Anyway, this is because of Sid saying thanks for watching, subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.